But let's go over a few of these just to, make this as educational as possible. Put your name and address at the top of the message. Pretty straightforward. They want to obviously make sure that you are a constituent. Sometimes they'll actually forward your message appropriately to the correct representative if you sent it to the wrong one. That happens. It's okay. It's natural. That's one of the reasons why you do this. It isn't giving up and disclosing your PII. You're not going to end up on a list that you're not already on. Humanize your message. That means don't use AI to write it. Be brief and concise. And if you watch me in my channel and have seen me on the debate stage, brief and concise is something I struggle with. Be clear about your position. That should be pretty easy to do. We'll also get into a different video in the future on how to research existing legislation and how to effectively communicate that existing legislation in your message. Make your message timely. Of course, you don't want to talk about, well, back in 1932. It's got to be reasonable, like recent and according. Send your message when the legislation is being considered. Your message is worthless if it arrives after a critical vote. Look to APA to keep you informed about the timing of critical stages in the legislative process, right? That's exactly what I said, but in a much more concise way. Don't flame. Again, don't be angry. Avoid attachments. I would agree or disagree, depending on what the subject matter is. If you have a suggestion of legislation, attachment. If you are encouraging them to support the legislation and you want to attach a list of facts, I would encourage you to do that as well. But if your attachment is you with the middle finger, I would advise against that. Don't become spam. I disagree. I disagree to the point that we should be messaging our elected officials, especially over contentious legislation or legislation that can be very impactful or harmful for that matter. We should be emailing them as often as possible, as collectively as possible. They're going to say, do not send Congress a message every single day about every issue you read about or develop an opinion on. An office that receives numerous messages from a single person quickly loses sight of the urgency or expertise that the constituent can bring to a specific issue. Valid? True. Not arguing that that is a valid statement. But we are trying to influence our congresspeople to listen to us first and foremost. And if they're going to send cops against our kids who are protesting genocide on school campuses, then what are they going to do? Send a police officer to each and every single residence in America? It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. That's also unconstitutional. Airing and addressing our grievances is a constitutionally protected right. And so becoming spam is really dependent on if you're the only one doing it. Of course they're going to ignore you. If everyone in your community, everyone in your district is doing it, they can't ignore that. Establish your credibility. Again, that's only if you're offering tips and suggestions or insight on the legislation. You don't have to be credible at all. It helps, of course. It helps to be knowledgeable, right? You can't just make stuff up. Well, the sky is green because I think the sky is green. I get that. We can't pass legislation to change the sky is green. So credibility has to be, the intent here is grounded in reality. Don't lie, as I just said. Don't CC everybody. Again, I somewhat disagree with that. This video is to encourage as much engagement and interaction and forceful communication as possible. We want to be down their throats. We want to be up their rears. We want to be the sock puppet coming out of their mouth. So, yes, CC everybody. Proofread your email. Obviously, we want to do that, right? F7, baby. That has saved my life for decades. And then this is a template. I can't actually read how... That is a very small text right there. Let's see if it's on a bigger screen. It is. Perfect. As your constituent, I write to ask that you support H.R. 1969, the Military and Veteran Caregiver Services Improvement Act of 2015. This important measure would extend to all veterans with a serious service-connected injury or illness eligibility to participate in the Department of Veterans Affairs program of comprehensive assistance to family caregivers of such veterans. Under current law, such eligibility is limited to those veterans who incurred an injury but not an illness on or after September 11, 2001. According to a recent report by the RAND Corporation, Hidden Heroes, America's Military Caregivers, the loving assistance provided by family caregivers saves taxpayers billions of dollars each year in healthcare costs and enables millions of veterans to live at home rather than institutions. I strongly support this legislation and ask that you co-sponsor the bill and use your influence to advance the bill to a vote in the House. Thank you for considering my views. I look forward to your response. That is a very constructive, very informed, very credible email. But that is the language that you should consider using. And to that end, that's why they said humanize. You probably don't talk like that. I don't talk like that. So you can ask AI to help you write a letter to Congress regarding H.R. 1969 with several key facts about it, humanize it, go over and, of course, proofread it yourself, and then send to your respected congressperson, in this case, House Bill 1969. So that is how simple it is. It can seem daunting, but we now have tools to make that process easier. And although AI is pretty contentious and controversial right now, it is still a tool. And it is still a tool that can be used in an appropriate manner to help you do things such as this.